Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Greet your neighbors. Hello again. Our invocation today will be given by John Scott.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this gathering and for the fellowship that it fosters. We ask your blessing on the meal that we share today and for the good work that it gives us strength to accomplish. We give our highest praise to you for the hands that labored to grow, process, and prepare it for our enjoyment. Our program today updates us on the work that 4-H and their members do in our area. As stated on their website, 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, empowering nearly 6 million young people with the skills to lead for a lifetime. As Rotarians, we honestly believe the purpose of our lives is to make a difference. It helps others where people unite and take action to create lasting change. We're also aware that nothing does itself. Machines don't run themselves. Bricks don't lay themselves. Nails don't drive themselves. Buildings don't build themselves. Lessons don't teach themselves. Food does not prepare itself, and skills don't develop themselves. Someone has to do everything that is done, make everything that is made, and think everything that is thought. We know the next move is up to us. Therefore, we pray for your divine guidance in our every thought, intention, and action. Amen.
Thank you, John. Well, welcome back, everybody. Couple of things. There were several of us on Friday that were able to attend Chuck Doherty's memorial service, which is a really nice service. So I was happy to see several Rotarians there. Chuck had such a big impact on this club with his involvement in the auction over the years, and it was interesting to learn a little bit more about Chuck on Friday. So it was a nice service. Also, Saturday night, we had our Rotary friends and family at the Ohio Light Opera for the production of Cinderella. Several Rotarians were there. I think everybody enjoyed the night. And I really want to thank Laura Neal. I don't think Laura's here today, but Laura Neal for hosting us and Lynn for helping to organize that. It was a great event. It was interesting to see a lot of kids there for the production of Cinderella, and some little girls even dressed up, you know, like Cinderella. So it was interesting. So the flags, we had a little flag damage, as you can imagine. I know the first thing I thought of last I guess it was early Tuesday morning at around 12:30 was our flags as I looked outside and saw the wind blowing. Most of the damage that we had was south of town, obviously, with where the heavy damage was. And we had a number of Rotarians stepped up to go out and replace flags. I know Marty Starkey did a lot out there on the south end of town. We did send out a note to all subscribers that if they had a damaged flag, to let us know, and we'll get out there and replace it before the 4th of July. I do see a few of them bent as we drive around, so I suspect we'll have some flags to exchange before the next holiday. So today in history, I'm actually one day off on this, but I thought it was important enough to comment on today. So it was yesterday, June 19, 1865, was the formal announcement from the General Order Number 3 by the Union Army proclaiming the freedom for enslaved people in Texas. So that was yesterday in 1865, and today, of course, is the official holiday observed federally. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn and the Secretary's reports.
Thank you, President Terry. It is a real pleasure to welcome a new Rotarian, or at least new to us, Pat Shriver, who will come up and he will get his red badge. He transferred to us from the Rotary Club of Ashland. He works for GFC, or Gordon Flesh Company, formerly Worcester Business. So thank you. And Chad Bailey will introduce his guest from the podium. And after that, past President Brent Rice has an announcement about youth exchange. We haven't heard that in quite a while, so that's good news.
I have a whole table of guests over there. My wife, Stephanie, our hospital manager, Charlene Clark. And then we have a student, Megan, from the Ohio State Vet School, who just happens to be here working with us today. So we brought her to Rotary. And then two of the speakers today, Libby and my daughter, Jo.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm happy to say that Youth Exchange is back. And this fall, we will be resuming the sending of outbound students and the accepting of inbound students. This club is sponsoring Hayden Michelle, who has just graduated from Wooster High School, an exceptional student and very involved. Hayden will be going to Japan for the 2022-2023 year. And here in our club, we will be hosting two students. We will be hosting Sujit Bangali from Bigwan, India, and Izumi Nishimatsu from Hashima, Japan. So be prepared to welcome them when they come to Worcester in August or September, as soon as we can get them here. At this time, we're actively recruiting host families for throughout the year. So if you would happen to know of a family, friend, neighbor who might have an interest, please feel free to put them in contact with me or anyone else who's involved with Youth Exchange here with the club. Similarly, the application for outbound students for the 2023-2024 academic year will be opening in August or September. So look at those students and mention the opportunity for Youth Exchange to them so they can benefit from this extraordinary life-changing opportunity. And one final note is next week, at the end of next week's program, we will have a committee meeting, Youth Exchange committee meeting after that, after the program. I've emailed all the past youth committee participants, but we're looking for new members as well. So if you have an interest in joining us and in welcoming our students and helping to provide programming for them throughout the year, we invite you to stay after next week's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. It's certainly really nice to have Youth Exchange back with us after a 2-year hiatus. So it'll be really great to welcome the students this summer. Welcome to all of our guests today, and I hope you enjoyed today's program in the Fellowship of Wooster Rotary. And with that, we've got a little bit different sort of tag team approach to the program today. So I'm going to turn it over to Chad.
Well, guys, of course, I'm a Rotarian, but I'm really here today as a member of the County Fair's Junior Livestock Sale Committee. And that committee is pretty, I guess, pretty important to me for a lot of reasons. As an employer, I think that, and I think other employers in the room will probably say the same thing, getting an increasing feeling that today's college graduates are just not at all prepared to work. Whether you agree with me or not, you know, we've been hiring and firing employees at our hospital for I mean, been doing it personally for a decade, and consistently I see college graduates that have really limited verbal skills, just communication skills, just being able to talk to somebody. They have no common sense knowledge of like budgeting or honestly even basic math skills, which is concerning to me. I know there's been a lot of focus on STEM, and I'm pretty sure the M in STEM is mathematics, but if you've worked with any college graduates, you might be shocked at their math skills, I think. Time management, I see a lot of lack of time management skills. And my personal story is when I was in vet school, my classmates used to laugh at my time management skills. They'd see my calendar on my computer, open the classroom, and they'd laugh at how detailed I was. They were laughing until I became the highest paid person in my class when we graduated. And that was because of the time management, the time I spent outside of the classroom. And that's all stuff that I learned in 4-H. Other skills I think is that are lacking from college graduates now are just simply meeting deadlines, being able to overcome failure, and being able to accept adversity, when things don't go well. Oddly enough, I think we see a lot of new hires or younger people that come to our clinic. And for me personally, I'm shocked they don't have any like physical skills. I'm talking about things like the difference between a Phillips screwdriver and a flat screwdriver, or how to turn a circuit breaker on. I think by the time you get to your 20s, you should know some of those things. And it's not rare for us to hire somebody in their 20s that doesn't know those things. So that's why I think 4-H is really important. Probably now, maybe more than it's ever been in the last 50 years. These skills are all things that you learn when you're in 4-H and you're raising a 4-H project. Not even touching on like the more like technical things like how important agriculture is, and having a safe food supply, all those sorts of things. We always joke that, if you go into high school and ask a kid what the biggest industry in the world in America is, they'll tell you, it's computers or Tesla or Apple or something, and they're wrong. It's agriculture. It's still the biggest industry in the country. In 2020, agriculture contributed over $1 trillion to the GDP here in the United States. Somebody told me once that it's true everybody does have an iPhone, but you don't buy an iPhone 3 times a day like you do food. So agriculture is still really important. I think at least at our hospital, our best employees usually have a 4-H background. If you're an employer here in Wayne County and you want to find good employees, I'd recommend that you go to the fair. The fair is, of course, in September, but the end point of those projects that most of those kids have at the fair is the sale. So this year it's on September 14th and 15th, and that's where business owners like us can support kids that are raising these 4-H projects. When you go to the sale, you can, of course, buy things to put in your freezer, like beef or pork, lamb, those sorts of things. But you can also just support the 4-H kids and turn the product back. So you can just pay the difference between the market value and the premium you paid for them. So those are your options there. But really, as a business owner, I can't think of a better way to support the 4-H program here in the county than to go to the sale and to go to the fair and buy kids projects and support them at the shows when they're there. So with me today then also is Doug Fox. He's the Wayne County extension agent for 4-H, and he's going to tell us more about the details of what's going on in the county and 4-H. And then after he speaks, we have a couple of 4-Hers here that are just going to tell us about what their projects are this year. So.
All right, well, thank you, Chad. It's great to be here again. It's been about a little over 2 years, I think, since we were here last, and just really appreciate this chance to share a little bit. Okay, this is all happening pretty automatic. Whoever's doing that, thank you. Just a few slides to run through fast, kind of an overview of our 4-H program and junior fair program, and one of my questions was going to be, can anyone guess how many members are in 4-H nationwide? But that came out in the invocation earlier. So we're gonna, it's 6.5 million currently, so our numbers are on the upswing right now, which is great. But before I go to the next slide, can anyone take a guess at how many members are in Ohio? Not quite 400,000, that would be awesome, but no, a little bit lower. Any thoughts? 250,000, no, it's still a little bit lower than that. All right, we'll give you the answer. Just over 70,000, 71,293. So we are very fortunate for Ohio 4-H. Ohio is the birthplace of 4-H. It started in Clark County near Springfield in 1902, and it's grown and expanded all throughout Ohio and all throughout the United States and into about 70 countries worldwide. And in the United States, 4-H is a part of the land grant university system. So there's 100 land grants all around our country. It initially started, with one per state, but over the years, additional were added. And so in Ohio, 4-H is part of the Ohio State University and OSU Extension, and also now Central State University is the newest land grant in Ohio. And so in a number of more urban counties, especially, you have a Central State University presence with 4-H and with Extension overall. So here in Wayne County, bringing it here even more local for this year, we're 1,501 4-H members. We have 400 volunteers and 47 community clubs. So we're very proud of that. And a lot of great families, a lot of great people putting in a lot of time and hours, throughout the year, whether that be working on individual projects or on committees or getting ready for camp or fair, all of those things. So as Chad was talking about, some of the skills that come out of 4-H members, time in 4-H are often leadership skills, public speaking, confidence, all of these that are listed on the screen. Initiative is a big one. When you see something that needs done, having that skill to know it, to go ahead and take charge and do it and not wait necessarily for someone to give you instructions or direction to do it, but you see a problem that needs fixed and you go after it and fix it. Certainly record keeping. We have record books with all of our 4-H projects that kids work on over the years and develop that skill of record keeping, financial management, responsibility, just work ethic and compassion. And then when we go back to that land grant university system, a few years back, Tufts University did a study and they followed the same group of students over their entire school years from kindergarten through 12th grade. And they studied that group of students, about 7,000 students, compared to another control group of students that were not in 4-H. And what they found from that longitudinal research study was that our 4-H youth are about 5 times more likely to graduate from college. They are nearly 4 times more likely to make contributions to their communities, about 2 times more likely to be civically active, and then nearly 2 times more likely to participate in science programs during their out of school time. And so, and then nearly 2 times more likely to make healthy choices. So, I think these are all things that really speak from data to the strength of our program. Some of the highlights here, just in addition to our involvement with the fair and in animals and livestock, we had 372 students from 3 of our local schools, our high schools and junior highs, and the ATI campus that participated in our real money, real world personal finance classes and budget simulations. So always interesting to see the kids going through that project and learning how basically what it's going to be like as an adult to manage a monthly budget. We get a career assigned to them, usually based on their GPA. So a higher GPA will tend to get a higher paying career, and a lower GPA tends to get a lower paying career. And they have to work to make choices at these different stations on how they're going to spend their monthly budget. Another program, Car Teams, is in partnership with our Ohio State Highway Patrol and the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. And we had 184 first-time juvenile traffic offenders that participated in that program this past year, and they go through some classes to rethink some of their driving habits and choices and what some of the consequences could be. So always fun and hands-on activities with that. And then junior leaders, this is a group of our 4-H teams that do activities throughout the school year, mostly around career exploration and community service. Every year we work together with our senior fair board to assemble bikes and donate those bikes to different charities around the county here for the Bikes for Kids Christmas program. We visit a lot of different employers. So if you're a business owner and have a company that might be a place that would be somewhere we can bring our youth to learn about careers and the things that you do, please let us know. And that's something we'd definitely be interested in the future. Cloverbud Day Camp, this is for our youngest 4-H members, and it would have been just this past week at Fisher Auditorium out on the OSU Wooster campus, but unfortunately, with the weather this year, the storm that kind of knocked power out, we had to cancel camp this year. But last year, we had just under 70 kids that participated. Our overnight 4-H camp, that's coming up June 30th to July 3rd. Last year, we had about 130 youth, 38 counselors, and 16 adult volunteers that helped us at camp. We're up over 100 kids for camp this year. It's going to be a really big camp. It's going to be a lot of fun, but that's also coming up here at the end of June. Shooting sports is one of the activities that camp is very popular and growing in popularity amongst our clubs as well. And then when we get more into the livestock and fair kind of focus, we had 1,359 of our youth that completed their livestock and animal quality assurance last year. We're right in that same neighborhood right now for this year. 43 that participated in our beef carcass contest and 34 in our sheep carcass contest. And so this is a program where the youth have a separate animal, separate from the one they're going to bring to the fair. And they work with that animal all summer long, just like they would their fair project. However, pre-fair, just a couple weeks before the fair, they do a live judging. The judge places those animals on how they would appear live in the show ring. And then they immediately go and they're harvested, and we get to view them a couple days later in the cooler after a meat scientist has gone through all the quantitative analysis and determined the size of the ribeye, all the fat content and different things. And so it's a great learning experience for kids to be able to see and compare what those live placings were with the actual placings in the cooler. So that's a pretty exciting program. And then our fair, which is kind of really the crown jewel to our 4-H program. We're very blessed to have Matt here, our fair manager, and our fair board are wonderful people, great partners for us with 4-H. We have just this past year, when you combine our 4-H and FFA youth for the junior fair, we had 1,622 exhibitors, just over 6,000 entries, and that represents 2,534 animals. We had 1,000 plus special awards, 10 committees, and a little bit more than 120 volunteers on those different committees. And they ran together with our junior fair board, about 65 kids on junior fair board. They ran 21 livestock shows and made 7 livestock species auctions. And then also a new showman of showmen competition, which was taking our very top showmen from each of our livestock departments, putting them together, and each one of them had to show every type of animal. So that was a lot of fun, and it was pretty exciting to see the competition and the kind of friendly mentoring amongst those competitors, teaching their fellow competitors that maybe had never shown, a horse, for example, or a rabbit or something, teaching them how to show that other animal. And then all of that led to, like Chad said, the last 2 days of the fair is our livestock auction. And this last year, a new record, all-time record of $1.45 million in gross sales of the livestock auction. That was a $450,000 increase over the previous year. So we're very blessed in Wayne County for tremendous community support. There are many counties across the state that would have a livestock sale of half of that amount, or a third of that amount. And so things do certainly fluctuate as market prices change and as the economy changes. We've been very blessed to weather the storm of COVID very well, and see very solid, consistent numbers, even growth in our number of livestock and the sale itself. So we're hopeful that that continues, but it's always possible we'll have a down year as well. So we hope that with your guys' support and other business leaders around the county, we can keep having a strong livestock sale for our youth. And just a couple of the quick, highlights there. The baked goods auction starts off our series of sales. That's actually Sunday evening at the fair, September 11th. Dairy products auction on Wednesday of the fair, 11 a.m. And then we go in the afternoon for market lambs, goats, poultry, and rabbits from starting at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. And then Thursday, the last day of the fair, September 15th, our market swine auction starts off first thing in the morning, followed by the steers later in the day. So as far as participating in the fair, in the auction, you can just let me know if that's something you're interested in, or contact us at the office. We also have a buyer registration table during the fair at the auction, and you can just stop in there anytime and we can help you to get all registered and ready to go. But it's a pretty easy process. You just tell the auctioneer, you just raise your hand as often as you would like, keep raising it. And when they finally settle on the price, then you'll win the bid. You just tell the auctioneer, if you'd like to keep that animal, so you'd like to have the meat, have it processed and keep the meat, or if you'd like to turn it and have that animal sent, like Chad said, back to be processed, back to a commercial buyer, essentially. And then you just pay the difference between the market price and the premium price that you bid. But there's lots of places you can go locally. We're very blessed to have a lot of processors in our community. Some counties only have 1 or 2 options, but we're very fortunate. There's lots of places you can have the meat processed, and it's usually ready within a couple weeks after the fair for you to pick up. Another thing that's very popular, and we definitely encourage people to consider, is donating the meat to a local charity. So there's places like the Christian Children's Home, the Village Network, a number of those types of facilities in our community. The Wooster Hope Center, many of them have received meat donated from the junior fair sale. So I would encourage you to think about that as well. And then cash, checks, credit cards, those are all accepted. Our biggest thing is if you do purchase a grand or reserve champion animal, that cannot be turned, that cannot go to the commercial buyer. It does have to be processed, and you have to get the meat from that. So there again, if you don't want the meat, you can always donate it. But that is a quick overview of our 4-H program and the fair and sale. And so I'm going to turn it over to Libby and Joe, and they're going to share some more highlights from their projects and things they're involved with in the 4-H.
Hi, my name is Libby Grossnick-Claus, and this is my 10th and last year in 4-H. I have taken many 4-H projects throughout the past 10 years, including still projects, fashion and cooking projects, beef, swine, goats, poultry, and rabbit projects. After being involved in 4-H my entire life, it's almost impossible to answer the question what 4-H means to me, as it means everything to me. 4-H has been in my life since I can remember. Out of all the experiences I've had, 4-H has definitely given me the most memorable experiences. Some people view 4-H as feeding an animal from 5 to 10 months, walking it around the ring, and then making some money. But many eyes view 4-H as a year-round sport. 4-H is a place for improvement, acceptance, redemption, and it's somewhere where friendship is strong. And not only is it a team, but it's a family. 4-H has taught me so many skills throughout my life. For example, leadership skills, sewing and cooking skills, livestock knowledge, and so much more. 4-H continues to help kids in a positive way and helping them define their true selves. My favorite part of the fair is seeing the community come together and watching everyone's hard work pay off. 4-Hers around the state work very hard with their animals on a daily basis, and I love that we can all come together and show off all that hard work. If you have supported or been in the Wayne County Fair livestock auction at the fair before, then you already know it is such a humbling experience to see these motivated kids. Without the outstanding contribution of the many livestock buyers and fair supporters throughout the state of Ohio, this would not be possible. Every exhibitor continues to work hard with their market projects every year, and without the wonderful and much appreciated support from local businesses, we would not be able to live out the 4-H motto to make the best better.
Hi, my name is Jo Bailey. I'm the daughter of Chad Bailey, who's sitting up here next to me. I'm sorry. This is my 10th year in 4-H. And I have done pretty much every area of all the extra stuff besides the sewing and the animals. I've been very thankful that I have been welcomed into other clubs such as junior leaders and being on the junior fair board and on swine committee and goat committee and all those little extra things that make our fair run as smoothly as it does. A lot of people think that the fair is just a week long and you just go, you take your animal and whatnot, exactly like what Libby said, but it's so much more than that. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just dumping feed, it's not just picking out an animal. It's the hard work and the dedication it takes to your animal. When you have a 4-H project, even if it's just sewing, there are no off days, there are no breaks, there are no, oh, I can just do this later. You need to keep consistent in everything that you do and make sure that it's done in a timely manner because it all really adds up in the end. Something my dad likes to say is an hour in the barn makes a minute in the showroom easier, which is extremely true. I have been in the OPEG circuit this year, so I've been practicing getting better in my showmanship because that is the one thing you have total and complete control over in the ring is your ability to present your animal. I have done cows, I've done pigs, I have gone to state fair for my sewing projects. And all of these experiences have made me a better person, not just, the basic skills that you learn from doing the project, but a lot of latent skills, such as public speaking and time management and budgeting and all of those good things that are needed in everyday life. Sale is extremely important to me because it's the final, all my hard work's paying off. This is it. This is what I've worked for. Even though it's not all that you've worked for, it's kind of the grand finale of it. But the support from local businesses is kind of what runs the whole sale. While yes, we've done all of our hard work in our animals and our raising, it's truly you guys who make the difference in the sale, who make the prices go up and show all these kids who spent hours and hours and hours in the barn and on their projects worth it. For a lot of kids, this is a huge deal for them. And unless you've come from a 4-H background, it's kind of hard to explain how much it impacts your life being in 4-H. I used to be sort of a shy kid. Like if you would have told me 5 years ago, oh, you're gonna have to go up in front of 50 people and present it, I would say no. And through, especially for junior leaders and stuff like that, I've been a representative and I've had to talk to large groups of kids. You kind of get more comfortable up here to be able to present and talk and learn that it's not as scary as everyone thinks it is, and being able to present yourself. It's not just about what you're talking about, it's about presenting who you are and giving a good message. So there's a lot of things I'm very thankful for in 4-H. And I would love to see more and more support at the fair to really show all of these kids who are putting in the hours, just how much they mean to this county. Thank you.
I think we have some time for questions, if there are questions for any of the speakers today.
Okay, who wants to go first?
This is actually a question for the kids. So. Not for Mike. So, Mr. Murray, can you talk to us about what the type of typical 4-H member you see? Are they just all country kids, or are there a lot of kids in the Wooster City School or city schools that don't grow up on a farm? And your experiences with those types of kids that give you the chance to learn some of your lifelong farming skills.
So you do meet a lot of different kids from a lot of different backgrounds. And they have become some of my closest friends. Because at the end of the day, that's who you spend a lot of your time with, going on trips with, building a fair together, and just get them learn about people and meet people who probably meet just. And I think that's really interesting because people just know different backgrounds. How one thing can bring together like a huge community of people.
I'm gonna add to that, the Wayne Christian Schools are having an ag business program now, and that's one of the things, we have students who come from cities that don't have any facility. And there's producers that allow our students to meet them with in our facility, so you're right. It's really important.
Joe, got a question. How do you keep getting attached to your animals?
So, the first couple of years is very, you know, when you're 8 years old, you're thinking of it in the head. I don't know that anymore. But now that I've been here a little bit, you kind of go into forage something. This is my job, this is my business, this is what I do. I know my animals need to do. Now I'm going to try to keep them. But it's almost like thanking them for their service. They need you to grow and give you the experience that you know. So it kind of becomes a question of like the job.
When you have the big gatherings, like Northern Ohio 4-H, where do you do this now?
Big gatherings, I guess. I mean, we tend to be on the OSU campus a lot, whether that, if it's something more regionally, it tends to be kind of here at the Wooster campus or a more statewide event, probably on the main campus in Columbus. And then state fairgrounds, a lot of times we do things at state fair or one of the county fairs. We've hosted events at our fair too, for multiple counties together.
Does 4-H look like an urban campus?
So Terry asked, what does 4-H look like in urban communities? And that's a great question. I think, you know, it will vary from county to county for sure. We actually took our junior fair board on a bus trip to visit a number of other fairs. And on the last trip we went to was Cuyahoga County Fair in Cleveland area. And so, you know, there was definitely some elements that were similar, but on a much smaller scale in terms of number of animals, and they did have livestock shows and things. But you know, we're in our county, like our steer show could last the entire day. There, it might only be an hour. You're having a much smaller number of people participating, but I think some of the life skills projects like the robotics, the computer science, some of those more STEM related topics get a stronger focus. There can also be more in school or after school programming in some of those counties. I know that Franklin County has several additional program staff that are focused just on more urban in school kinds of programs. We see that from Cincinnati area and Toledo, Dayton. A lot more partnerships, I would say, with like after school programming. After school or in school. Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up in Suffolk County, and my mom was the first 4-H advisor to start a livestock club. And so, and like my sister's movie and brother John that showed cattle and livestock. And so, like introducing that club into our county, and grew to be a pretty big club. We got like 60 kids in a pretty urban, suburban county. But it was amazing because all of our classmates would come and learn about our process at the fair. So we did a lot of community outreach in
our county because of that. We just had no, we had no idea that milk came from a cow and you eat a full course sandwich is actually from a pig, like all those things were taught through the kids at 4-H and whatever at the school. So that's been around for 35, 40 years now. But there's only one person that started the club and so it's kind of cool to see it in areas that aren't able to do too.
I guess I've always been curious, so from an inclusion standpoint, do you have people that are youth, I guess, involved with 4-H that don't like that animal part of it, you're going to kill an animal part of it, maybe vegans or keep that.
Yeah, I mean, 4-H is very inclusive, we're very open and welcoming to anyone from all walks of life, any background. And you know, I think generally people, they find an interest that is something they're passionate about, and that's what they focus on in 4-H. So we have over 200 different project areas. So we, in a rural county like Wayne County, we tend to focus on the livestock and the agriculture side quite a bit. But we have a lot of youth right here in Wayne County that also do any number of, whether it be, you know, creative writing, art projects, we have woodworking, we have literally there's 200 different areas, and we've got someone that takes, it seems like at least one in all of those different areas. Some of those projects have lots, you know, dozens of kids in them. And so I think people find their niche, they find a place that they're passionate about. And there's even a create your own, like a self-determined project, so that if there isn't something in that list of 200 that really speaks to them, they can create something on their own. But I think, yeah, that's one of the things that especially we see in our teams as they interact in different groups, whether it be one they mentioned, junior fair ward, junior leaders, some of those that, you know, they'll meet and interact with kids from a different school or a different background or just a different interest altogether. Even just this last year was the first year we camped together with Ashland County, and our camp counselors got to know some of the Ashland County kids and things, and they were, you know, there was a lot of differences just one county away, and they're still very similar kind of rural counties, but yeah, there's definitely a place for everyone in 4-H. It's just a matter of finding what their interests are.
I have two comments. The advisors, 4-H advisors are real heroes, and they've been doing a job for years.
Yeah.
Second thing is the book I read, young fellow reflecting on his growing up when he was 6, 7, 8 years old, and thank you very much. I was never treated as a child with the voices of young adult and trained. I thought that's a nice idea.
Yeah. Well, just going off of that, it's kind of funny, back in the very beginnings of 4-H in the early 1900s, when A.B. Graham was the superintendent of the Clark County Schools, and he was getting 4-H started, and he started with these boys and girls corn clubs. And basically, it was them using scientific method and trying out things, and the kids were having more success and greater yields on these corn projects, little corn plots, than the parents were having in some of their commercial, you know, larger fields and stuff. And so it was kind of that from the very beginning of, we're gonna treat you like an adult, treat you like with some respect, and give you the ability to be creative and figure things out. And then, you know, when they have great results, the parents were learning from the kids and stuff. And so it really goes both ways. There's, you know, a lot of mentoring and interaction between adults teaching the kids, but also the kids discovering new things and sharing that back with the volunteers and parents and stuff. Yeah.
Real quick questions. Why does the buyer have to keep the grand champion or the champion? And then if one of us wanted to buy a steer and then sell it back, what's the premium? 50, 500,
Yeah, good question. Yeah. So the Department of Agriculture had some rules in place about that that animal has to be processed locally. There's some testing that occurs on the champions, additional testing beyond what the regular animals do. So they look at some things there. They just need to be able to know where that animal is going to be at one of the local facilities to do that testing. But in terms of cost, on a steer, for example, I think a typical price, market price is in that $2 a pound range. So depending what you bid above that would be your premium. So if it got resold back to a commercial buyer for around $2 a pound and you bid $3 a pound, then you're gonna look at the weight of that animal. You're probably gonna have $1,000, $1,500 there. So that's something, steers are definitely larger animals, and it sometimes can be better to maybe go together, a couple people together on a larger animal like that, where maybe a smaller animal, a lamb or a hog, you can do it on your own depending on the situations happen. Okay.
If you try any sort of meat product from there, like I was resized version, it tastes so much better than like a normal burger from when it's just, it's kind of weird, it's fun, but you can taste something in it. It's just the quality is so much higher, whether it's ranch chicken and chicken fast,
Well, thank you for your informative update on 4-H. Chad, thank you for being an advocate for 4-H in the community. Doug, thank you for helping to bring 4-H to the youth in our county. And Joe and Libby, thank you for sharing your experiences as part of 4-H. For each of you, I'll have after the meeting here, in recognition of your time with us, this emblem of our Wooster Rotary Club wheel, with service above itself on the front and the back, our 4-way test. And these are made locally by the village network. So I'll have one for each to do after. I think the slide that you showed, Doug, on leadership skills, as you look at all of those skills on that slide, certainly it's a great program to teach all of those skills. So just a quick reminder, next week, we will have our leadership transition for the club. So next week we'll be welcoming Greg Long as president. And yeah, no laugh. So we're looking forward to that program next week. Have a good week, Rotarians. We stand adjourned.